Hello and welcome to this tutorial where I'm going to take a look at how we can guide our players through playing our games using the help screen and the control schematics. To start with, if you find yourself playing games in Crayta and you're not exactly sure what you're doing or why you're doing it and you don't really know what the buttons are, a good idea would be to start trying pressing F1. If you press F1, it will display the help screen, which should showcase exactly what you need to do in the game, as well as how to go about doing that and what the controls are. I can't press it at the moment because this game is still in development, but we'll take a look at a really good example of a help screen during the course of this tutorial. This game is kind of a shooting game, but the main objective is actually to collect the cash, and this is a perfect example where, because it's a traditional game but it's got a bit of a different twist and a bit of a different objective, it'd be a really good idea to talk my players through exactly what they need to do at some point. And so that is what the help screen is for. Let's go and have a look at how we go about editing our help screen. So I'm going to go back to the game editor by pressing F5. Now I'm going to need to use advanced mode for this. Advanced mode can be found if you find yourself in a game in editing your game and you're in basic mode like this. You need to switch to advanced mode by pressing the tab button in order to change any of the help or control schematics. So pressing the tab button takes you to this screen. You need a mouse and keyboard in order to do that. And that kind of makes sense because the help and the control schematics need a bit of typing. So yeah, that's what, you need to have a keyboard and mouse to do that. So we're going to go over to the game tab, which we can find in the top right corner over here. Got entities, world and game. And I've just minimized these sections. Yours will probably be open. But the first one is the one we need anyway. And this is the help section. So in here, we can see there's a few buttons and a few different properties. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the controls, but we can also, from this area, we can also edit our help pages and we can also edit our loading screen images. So we can give our players a bit of a preview while the game is loading in. Firstly, let's look at the control scheme. So if I preview the controls by clicking this button here, you can see that the controls that are mapped are displayed on this control scheme. And this is exactly what your players will see when they press F1 when they enter your game. They'll see this screen and they'll also see this help screen here. So they'll be able to switch between these two. Obviously, there's no instructions available on this game yet, but the control scheme is kind of what we're looking for. So to go back to the editor, I'm just going to hit escape to return to the editor. And let's go and add our controls to the control screen. Remember, doesn't have any of my specific controls like shooting weapons and opening doors or anything like that. So let's go back and do that. Back to this screen here, and I'm going to just click on this drop down arrow next to scheme 0. If you find you don't have a control scheme already added here, then just click the plus here and it will add you one. So let's edit this scheme _0. I'm going to click the drop down arrow and then the edit input labels button. And here we can see all down the left hand side are the controls, and then in the middle is what I want each control to say. So what does each control do essentially? The first one is the primary button. So in my game this is shoot the weapon, shoot the current weapon. I'm actually going to use fire current weapon because there's explosives, so it's not always just shooting a gun, there's other things you can do. Fire current weapon. Secondary button is aim down sight / scope. I've hit the character limit, so there is a character limit on these labels here, and so that's worth bearing in mind when you're writing your instructions. I'm just going to delete that / scope part. Aim down sight is descriptive enough for what I need. The next button, extra one, is R, and that's actually reload current weapon. So let's add that one. I don't have any of these controls mapped, so I don't need to describe these or add labels to these. You might do, and so you would go ahead here and add your own descriptions. In fact, I think that's everything. There's this interact E. Now the only thing you can do with that in my game is open doors. I might change that later. There might be some other cool things that you might be able to interact with. But for now, it's just opening doors. So I'm just going to tell players that they can open doors with E. Cool. Now that I've added all of the controls that you can possibly use in my game, I'm going to close this menu by clicking this cross and preview what I've just done by clicking the preview controls button. And there we go. So we can now see the bindings that are specific to my game, and they're listed down here in the left hand side. And we've also got the controls highlighted on this map. So left and right mouse buttons, E is interact, and R just to show players exactly where they are if they're not sure. They're reading this list and they don't know, I don't know where those buttons are. And this will display correctly depending on whether you've got mouse and keyboard like what I'm using, or if you're using a controller, for example. If you're a player playing with a controller and you open up the help screen, then you should be able to see the control mappings for your controller as well. So that's really, really helpful. And that's something to bear in mind when you are writing up these controls for your players as a creator. Cool, so that's the control scheme. And now we've done that, let's talk about the help screen. So if I click preview help here, can't actually see a help screen yet because this game doesn't have one. One game I play quite a lot of is the Canyon Miners Tycoon here. So unfortunately, Russ has added a help screen. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here we can see we've got a screenshot and an instruction. And so a screenshot generally is a good way of either advertising the game or kind of describing in picture format what your instruction is telling you, or what the instruction is telling your players. So here Russ is talking about the fact that you own a mine which generates resources, and that you can sell those at the shop. And so his screenshot also depicts how your mine is generating resources and it's all shiny, but it also does this in quite a nice way. It's kind of it's kind of advertising the game and making it look really cool. So it's a good opportunity to not only give some kind of description to what's going on in the instructions, but also advertise your game a little bit and show off some of the cool stuff and the cool world you have created. So Russ has got 3 pages. The first one's about the mine, and then he talks about the town shop, which is important for converting resources to cash, and then the pumpkin patch, which is a kind of a bonus section. So it's really worth considering before you write anything exactly what makes your game unique or different from other games, and then focusing on how you are going to explain that to players. And you might not get it right first time. It is definitely worth talking to players of your game or new players of your game to see what instructions they might find helpful, or to see whether they found your instructions helpful with a little bit of feedback. So with that said, let's go and have another look at the game that I'm making and think about what instructions we might want to think or what might want to add for this game. So if I press escape and return back to the editor, so I want to have a few pages because it's a little bit different from a normal shooting game because it's really a collection game. And there's a key mechanic in my game where you collect things, and whichever team has the most cash wins. So that's a core game thing that I need to get across in my instructions. But there's also a mechanic where if you kill someone, then they drop half their cash and you can go and collect it. And so that specific thing for my game, players and Crayta may not have come across that in other games before. So I need to make sure that's very, very clear that that's what happens, but also describe that in a way that's in keeping with what my game is all about, and try and use some language that's kind of associated with the theme of my game. So I've drawn up a few ideas for those instructions, and I've just written them in a Notepad document. So let's exit out of Crayta for a second and open up Notepad, and I'll just put that on this screen. So you can see I've got 3 pages. I've got a title for each page, and then a couple of sentences that kind of explain those different mechanics that I was just talking about. And now that I've planned out my instructions, I can go into Crayta and just use, and what I did next, I just went around and took some photos of things that kind of displayed to the user or to the players or sort of described exactly what those pages were about. So the first page was about the fact that you needed to collect money. So I set up a scene and took a screenshot of that. The next one was kind of about, you drop cash. So I will get that from, or I've got a sort of photo of what that might look like, collecting someone's cash that they've dropped. And then the last thing was about how the winning team is the one with the most money. And so I set up a little bit of a scene at a bar and then took a photo of that as well. So I took some photos around my game world to go along with the instructions that I'm going to be writing in the help screen. So now that I've got the resources, I've got my text, my titles, and I've got some images to go with it. I've got all of the resources I need to write my help screen. So I'm going to go back to the game tab over here, and I'm going to add these to my pages. Now I've got 3 pages, so I'm going to add those 3 pages. First page is page 1. The title of page 1 was Cash is King, and I'm just going to copy and paste my text from my notepad document. So paste my text in there. Cool. Now I took those photos. So in order to select the image, before I can select the image, I need to upload the photo I took to create.crayta.com. So let's go and do that. So I'm just going to minimize that screen, open up my browser, which is here. And in order to upload the images, I need to go to this upload tab here. So create.crayta.com/images/upload. This is not a UI image. UI images are really for the HUD that is in the game. These images are the ones that are in the sort of the menus. They're the same it's the same image bank as the card for your the title card for your game. So upload your images in here, and you can either drag them on or you can select the file. So I've done that, and you can see that images have been approved already yesterday. It took about an hour to get approved. So that's those 3 images there. So now that I've uploaded my images and they've been approved, I go back into Crayta and just go back in here and then go to the game tab, go to the first page that I was working on and select the image. The image I want for this page is this one here. And then I'm going to select that by clicking it and then click done. Cool. So now we've got page 1. Let's add another couple of pages, page 2, page 3. And I just need to go and get the text for those. So let's just minimize the page 2 text. Let's get that. Game page 2. The title was Watch Your Step Kid. Name that song. And then the text is, I'm going to paste that in and then select the image is this one. And then, so in this one you can see I've got a picture of some cash on the floor in a big bag, and I'm sort of describing what's going on in the text, which is about how if you kill someone, they'll drop half their stash, or if you get killed, you drop half your stash, and that's open to anyone to collect. Then page 3 was, the title is It's Just Business, which is the name of the game, Just Business. And then I'll copy the text from that there and paste it in here. And that last one is about how the winning team is the team with the most amount of money. So it's a team-based game. And let's select the image for that one. It's this one here, sort of a celebration type image. Cool. So we've got those 3 pages added to my pages. Now I can click the preview help button and it will show me what they look like. So that's the first one. That's the second one. And it's just business. And I think the third image is still being loaded into the cache, but it will appear at some point. Cool. So that's my help screen. And hopefully that both entices players into playing my game and also explains exactly how to win and some of the key mechanics that they can find within my game. Finally, while we're in this help section, I thought it would be a good idea to also talk about this loading screen here. If I preview the loading screen, you can see that now that I've added that help text onto those help pages, that pops up too. So when a player is loading in, it'll automatically come up with those instructions that you've written to give them something to think about while they're loading into your game. And you can also change the background images by just clicking plus in this loading screen array over here and then selecting some of your images. So I've got a few that I've specifically taken are slightly different from the help screen ones. These ones are a little bit more illustrative, a little bit less to do with explaining what's going on. Just take that one. They're all, it's kind of setting the scene and setting the tone, really, I'm hoping, and getting players excited as they're loading into my game. So let's use that one as the last one. And so we've added our loading screen images, and when I publish the game, those will be used as the loading screen. And that's everything I wanted to talk about for the help screens. Hopefully this has been a useful and interesting tutorial. If you have any feedback about my tutorials, please don't hesitate to head over to our Discord and make your opinions heard. I'm really open to improving them and constantly striving to get better at making tutorials. I will publish this game at some point. This will be called Just Business. You'll be able to access it from my Tutorial Springs hub, which is the hotel that I've made. I just make hotels, I think. That's okay. Yeah, I hope that you take the opportunity to use the help systems to guide your players in using your games. And I really look forward to seeing how you do that. And I look forward to seeing you playing my game in Crayta.